So whenever we talk about employee surveys and analytics, obviously that means in this context that we got to do a survey. And whenever we do a survey and whenever I give a demo, I like to demonstrate our automation survey, which is probably the most used survey tool we have. Automation survey. And the idea of the automation survey is that we can basically build the whole year surveys up front once. And I'm not sure, you might have experience in different companies that you worked in past, and some of you that have had a long career already. We've had this transformation in employee surveys and analytics that companies have used to conduct these big surveys with many questions, and they can be sometimes overwhelming. But this becomes really challenging for the companies as well, because once they conduct a big survey, let's say 40 questions plus or something like that, it becomes really hard for them to analyze and understand the information, and it's usually too generic. So with this automation survey, what we usually do is that we break down the different topics we want to measure. And I will give you an example that, let's say that during 1 year time window, we want to measure like leadership, career development, strategy, and maybe well-being. So instead of doing a one big survey, asking and measuring all of those topics, we can create this automation survey. So what we can do is an automation survey path where we break down basically this big entirety into smaller pieces. Let's say that at Q1, we measure just the leadership. At Q2, we measure the strategy, and so on and so forth. So if we go forward here, and I'm gonna just hypothetically build this automation survey. So first of all, we can select what channel we want to use to deliver this survey. We can deliver this via email, SMS, Slack, Microsoft Teams. And for different employees, this can be delivered to different channels. Like, for example, production employees, it can be via SMS. For people working at the office, it can be Microsoft Teams, and so on. We can do these automation surveys for the whole company so that every employee gets the same survey, or we can do this in a dedicated way to certain teams, certain locations and managers, and so on and so on. And this that you see here, these teams and locations, this is scalable, which means that this is based on the company or the organization, like organization tree or the structure. So if company has teams, departments, location, and countries, then they can send the surveys based on those levels as well. All right. Now we go forward, we can, do the basic automation cycle settings, and I'm gonna do this example by using 12 weeks frequency. So every quarter, basically, we would send a survey. And here in the right, you will see now an example, just mainly to demonstrate the idea of automation survey, is that here you can see that in 23, in February 27th, we will send these 4 questions that equals the 1 survey. And here, the month 5th, 2022, we will send the other 4 questions that equals the 2nd survey. So this way we can build the automation survey path. And here on the left, in the other hand, you can see this these topics and these categories, and we call this a library. And what this basically is that it's the market leading and biggest question bank. So we have different topics that have a bunch of different like pre-made questions that have been done with different HR leaders and with researchers to drive different topics. That if we want to measure leadership, we can go here and take these pre-made questions, and then we can tailor and edit those based on how we want to ask those. We also have pre-made templates to use, and there are everything between work and skills to company leadership, etc., etc. Now, if we come here and we send this, and now employees, obviously, they answer to these surveys, so we start to get data. And here we come to our first dashboard. By the way, some of you might have heard that we are renewing our user interface. So this whole view will be changed to a different user interface within 3 weeks, but the structure and everything will remain the same, but it will look much sexier and nicer. Anyway, this is our general insights, and there's a few reasons why I want to show you this. So what this basically shows us, and for the HR leaders, and usually for the top management, is that they get a quick understanding how our company employees are doing. We see a satisfaction trend based on conducted surveys. We see a satisfaction distribution. And then we have these layers here. We see teams, we see locations, and topics. And here in teams, if you navigate here the different teams, you get a team-specific pages. And why I'm showing this is that team managers can get an access to their own team page, which really shares the responsibility of, like, let's say that company is developing or wants to improve employee experience or something. Like, we can share the responsibilities that managers can get the information about their team, and they can adjust their leadership and the things they do there. And also they know how their employees are doing there if we're talking about big teams or departments. And the same thing with locations. Locations can be like, let's say a retail company. They in Finland, like Little, it can be Little Espoo, Little Vantaa, etc. And in B2B companies, it can be different, like office premises, like in Helsinki, Oulu, Sweden, whatever. And this is the part of the scalability. So these layers here could be departments or even countries. And very common thing, what we have big customers such as like Kaukokiito and so on. So what usually we do for big customers is that are part of like a group structure, is that we have view here based on companies. So if there's a one company that consists, just like Saarni Cloud, there's CSI Helsinki, Kiva Work, Saarni Learning, Neptune, and so on. We could have companies here and a group level analytics here. The last but not least, we have topics here. So we get each topic that we measure here, and we can dive into topic pages as well. And why do we want to have topics here? And why do we want to link each question to a certain topic? The reason is that, let's say that we are measuring employee experience or well-being. And let's say that we have done certain development initiatives to improve those or support those and so on. Obviously, then we want to validate if our development initiatives have worked, how the employees have felt about it, and can we see like the trajectory and how it's improving. So that's why we have topics here as well, that we can see the trend, how our development initiatives are working within the company and among the employees. All right, so now we dive a bit deeper. So this is our heat map view, and this heat map view can be filtered based on the layers that I just explained. But in this example, we have teams, locations, managers, and so on. And what this basically does is that we can see how different locations are doing under different topics. And if we click these, we get a pop-up, we see the questions and the stats. But here is a good example that why we want to use these kind of views like heat maps. I will actually show you the example here in the team levels. It's probably a bit better. So why we want to use these heat maps is that, obviously, like I said, that if you ask from a sales employee, you know, what might they be stressed about versus a developer, you will probably get a different answer. So that's why we want to use these heat map views, is because different teams have different struggles and challenges and so on. In one team, well-being can go down because of a reason X and Y, and in a production team, the reasons can be O and B, basically. So this gives us understanding that, hey, in what teams we should focus on what and how we could develop those. And therefore, why it's really beneficial for the employees as well, that companies and the top management can view the results this way, is because then they can do beneficial and more, not a lucrative, anyway, they can do better development initiatives and steer those better. So the employees will see those in their everyday work as well. All right. And then we go to the next analytics page, which is an employee specific analytics. And we are only one at the moment in the whole market that is providing this employee specific analytics. And before we continue here, I want to show that we have obviously protected the anonymity of every employee. So we don't show any data if there are less than 5 answers from a team or location or any layer. So we don't show any data that employees cannot be exposed, and we can really protect the employees and the anonymity. So the structure here is the same. We have teams on the left in this example, and we have these different topics that we are measuring here. There's a bunch of topics right now in this demo. And now you see these balls here, and we call this a traffic light system. So each ball is one employee, and the color indicates the situation of the employee within this topic as an example. So here we see that, hey, we have 4 employees that are not feeling good about appreciation, and there are 4 employees that are red. So now if we click this open, we get an employee specific and anonymous profile report, and we can see the employee overall score. We can see how the employee is feeling about all the other topics we have measured. And now if we would have done or conducted a second survey, we would see the trend line for the employee. We call it an employee life cycle. So is the employee going up or down, or is it just continuing in a neutral way? We see how the employee is linked to team average. But here's the thing, because this is anonymous and we protect employees, obviously, is that HR or the people that operates this within the company, can be managers as well. They can contact employees anonymously. So like I said, we don't know who the employee is, and the managers or no one knows who the employee is, but they can send a message via our chat panel here and say that, hey, we noticed that you are worried about this or something like that. Would you like to talk more about this anonymously or something like that? Or, hey, would you like to get back to me and schedule a one-to-one or something like that? And then it's up to the employee whether or not the employee wants to do that and break the anonymity or not. But we give the action to actually take some action from the HRs and from the leaders' perspective. And this has been used a lot actually within our customers, and the employees have liked this as well. Yeah, they've liked this as well. But this is basically like the core that I always want to show when I give a little or quick tour about Kiva Work. We have also different survey. We have Pulse and 360 surveys, not just the automation survey. Then companies can build their own reports. So we can build reports, let's say about just from one team, or make a report of the whole company and share that effortlessly among the selected individuals and so on. The idea here also is that when managers can get the access to this platform, they can create their own reports. They get the results and reports automatically if they use the automatic report. So we really want to take the manual work away what comes to conducting surveys, but obviously it takes time to analyze the surveys. And then the other 50% of the whole work is actually working on the things based on the data companies have received. But we want to facilitate and make this as effortless as far as we can do this within this process. Then we have other supportive or supporting features here. We have alerts as an example for managers that is used a lot, and for HR people as well. And what these alerts, what we have here, what they basically do is that if someone answers a low score, we can define what is a low score, like with between 1 and 10, let's say it's below 3 or something like that. If someone answers below 3, or team stats are starting to dramatically go down, the manager or the HR people or selected individuals can get an alert about that, so they can adjust and take things into account in more proactive way, instead of noticing things that are going towards a bad direction when it's too late, for example. So this gives them the opportunity to fix their potential issues earlier on before they basically escalate.